I am of the opinion that everything you have been taught and everything that you know about death is wrong. Death doesn't exist. Death is an illusion. A quantum healing hypnosis session opens a window in someone's mind that will never close again. So my name is Alexandra Zwaal-Carlos, and I would like to tell my story about how I died. This was in the early 90s, and I was living in Amsterdam. I was a student on an art college, and I was on my way to school on a bicycle, like all the other Amsterdammers do. And I was run over by a truck. And this truck weighs in at 13 tons. So the truck had driven over my body, and in that moment I died. I clinically, physically died. So the first thing that happened was that I spiraled out of my body, and I hovered over my body, I would say about 10, 12 meters. And I looked down on myself. I could see myself laying there. I could see the bike and how it was sort of strangely in between my legs, and how my body was all twisted and weird on the ground. And I saw blood trickling between my legs, and it really didn't look very good. And what I remember very clearly from that out-of-body experience, or OBE as they call it, is that you're completely detached, but you're super aware. And so as I'm hovering over myself and sort of getting a very clear view of the situation, I realized, very clearly what had happened to me. I think what I was most impressed with actually was having a 360-degree view. And so I remember spending a few moments, or being in a few moments, in complete awe of that view. From some point, I saw a man running towards me, who sat by me, and I saw that at some point he took a white handkerchief out of his pocket and wiped all the vomit from my face. And he sat down with me. He held my hand, made sure they didn't move me. And I also saw from two sides, because it happened on a crossroads, so from two directions I saw people approaching me and approaching the accident that had just happened. That upset me, because I felt that they were encroaching on my space. I remember feeling like, can't you all just please go away and give me some air and let me die in peace. I don't really know exactly how long it lasted, but at some point I did realize that I was dead. And in that moment, it was like I made a decision. I describe it in my book as it felt like a cord snapped. And after I decided to let go, everything accelerated. Everything went incredibly fast. And I felt like I spiraled at great speed up into the sky. And I had literally had the feeling that I was going through space, going through the air at a very high speed, going away from Earth. And then the next moment, I remember everything fades to black. Many people who have an out-of-body experience describe going through a tunnel of light or going to a light. I don't remember any of that. So the first place or dimension where I reawoke in consciousness was what we could probably call the Akashic records, or the Akash. I basically went to 3 other dimensions, and it's a little bit too much to go into details of all 4 of them. So the last dimension, the last place or space where I went to is what we could call the union with God, or being one with source energy, or the creator. I call it being cradled in the arms of God. And so when I re-emerged into that source energy consciousness, what I experienced was the most overwhelming, the most profound sense of wholeness, of love, of belonging, being of light, being of the light, every part of you. And even while saying it, it's nothing that I could ever say, or I think anyone else for that matter would ever do that justice. It's merely describing, the outline of it. You could never describe, I think, truly in language, how profound, how all-consuming, and how miraculous that is. And so being in that incredible divine state of belonging and being home, really feeling home, that this is where you come from, and that is where we all go to. So while being in that dimension and in that state, and being totally in balance and in peace and totally happy, all of a sudden there was this voice. And the voice says, and it said it in English. That was also kind of funny, actually. It spoke to me and it said, "You can't stay. You have to go back." And I remember being very disturbed by that, taken aback. And I remember saying, but no, please, I begged to be allowed to remain in that space, in that dimension. And then for some time, what happened was the bargaining with God, as I call it. So I bargained, and basically it didn't really engage. It just said, at some point, it just repeated what it had said before, and it said, "No, you can't stay. You're going back." And it literally said that. And then the next moment, I reawoke in my body in intensive care, with 100 tubes in and out of my body, and being connected to a respirator machine. So that is what happened. So the experience that I had of leaving my body and then going to an afterlife, people can have that, but without all the anxiety that I went through as a result of my accident. So I started sharing my personal story because it is ultimately what led me to Dolores Cannon and her work, and I found all my answers. It was in a way the end of my searching, the end of my quest. Even though you're always learning, so it's wrong to be so fearful about death, because the actual moment of dying, of letting go, is very peaceful. And I really, really believe that it's very important that we start spreading that message, to take away all that fear from death, because we are full of fear, and the fear of death is really not necessary. So the main objective for doing a past life regression or a quantum healing session is that ultimately you learn so much about yourself. You receive tools and understanding that that enable you to make changes in your life, and to move forward in a very positive and empowered way. I think if everyone in the world would have an experience like this, we would transform society overnight. So we would be able to create a different world. We could create a better world. And I'm very passionate about that.